Hi, I'm Melissa. Welcome to Wed and Worth It. We're going to have transparent conversations around budgets and walk through the emotional journey that is wedding planning. We're going to discuss the value of investing in meaningful moments and the joy that comes from creating an experience for yourselves and your loved ones. We talk to newly married couples to find out, was it worth it? Hi, Ashley. I am so excited to have you today. Tell me all about you and your husband. Give me a little background.
My name is Ashley Manarino, which is still a new thing to say. Using my new last name.
It's been a whole 8 weeks or something.
And a whole 8 weeks, almost 2 months.
Yeah.
Crazy. My husband Nick and I got married in October of this year on the 25th. Out in Scottsdale, Arizona, which we love, which for us is a destination wedding. Nick and I currently live in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. So we're just where we live up in the suburbs. We have been together for 6.5 years now. We've been married for all of 8 weeks.
Congratulations.
So we're still kicking.
Yep.
We're still great.
How did you guys meet?
So Nick and I both actually work in the music industry. We both currently work in management. But we met at a dinner, like an artist dinner with some of my clients in Nashville at an Italian restaurant in 2017. And then fast forward a year later, we never exchanged phone numbers in 2017. We knew of each other, but never exchanged phone numbers. 2018 at the exact same restaurant, exact same party, different people. He was there again. We exchanged phone numbers and we've literally been together ever since.
No way.
The second party.
No way.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep, we've been together that whole time.
Exact same restaurant.
Mm-hmm. It was maybe like 2 weeks difference.
Wow. And you didn't speak one word that whole year before?
We didn't have each other our phone numbers. So we met in 2017. We never exchanged phone numbers. I would see him obviously when I was in Nashville for work stuff. We had a mutual friend who introduced us at that party. And I had worked with her for years. And she introduced us. We never exchanged numbers. I never asked for his number. He never asked for mine. So we just kind of rolled with it. And then literally exact same restaurant, like 2-week difference to the day the next year. And it was almost like that perfect timing. It was almost like 17. You guys weren't ready for this. And then 18, it was like, okay, here you go.
Yes. So let's try. Let's do this for real this time.
Let's try this again.
Almost like
and Nick and I did. It was very serendipitous. And, Nick and I did the first year and a half of our relationship long distance because I was living in Atlanta. He lived in Nashville. And then at the end of 19, we decided that I was going to move up to Nashville to be closer to him, but still keeping my job in Atlanta because I love my job. I've been in my job in January, I'll be in my current job for 10 years.
Wow. So, congratulations.
Thanks. So I did a lot. I did back and forth at the beginning of 2020. And then we got the real dose of reality of living together in a 700 square foot apartment in Nashville during COVID, and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. So our favorite joke is that very, very tight quarters. And our favorite joke is that when people ask us, they're like, oh, you're going to do marriage counseling? We're like, no, that was COVID.
Yeah.
We've done this already.
Was our counselor.
This was our version of counseling. So we lived in Nashville for 2 years and then I moved back to Atlanta. Nick moved to Atlanta for the first time, for work reasons. And now we are both working at the same company. He's right down the hall, actually. Oh, funny enough.
That is so funny.
We work at the same company.
Do you have the same type of job? Like this is unrelated. I'm just curious.
Yes, we actually have we have the exact same title, but we just both have different artist clients that we work with. So we're on 2 separate teams. But now that we're married, everybody keeps joking that we're going to come together and become this like super management couple, which is really, really funny to me because it's never been talked about before until recently. And I'm like, wow, all right, let's do it.
You should explore it. I don't know. I'm
yes.
Power couple vibes.
Yes. So we're trying, but yeah, that's Nick and our quick story of how we got to this point. And so yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. It goes quick. I feel like 2020 was
so fast.
Yesterday and 20 years ago, all at the same time.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
all at the same time.
Are in Georgia, and y'all landed on getting married in Scottsdale, Arizona. So it was a destination wedding. Tell me about that. Were there other destinations you were considering, or how did you land on Scottsdale?
Yeah. So when Nick and I got engaged in September of 2023, we went on vacation to the Dominican Republic, and he proposed while we were there. And I remember sitting at the beach restaurant having lunch the day after we got engaged, and he already had a plan in his head, of course, which is very my husband. And he mentioned October of 24, and I said, yeah, that sounds great. And we threw around every idea. We threw around having a very large wedding because of what we do. We have so many friends and clients, and how do we do this? And then it was, do we do this in Atlanta? Do we do this in Nashville? Where do we do this? And, we wrote out a guest list one night, and we were at 150 people, and we probably hadn't even scratched the surface.
Yes.
So, of just, it happens so quickly. And I think when you're in that phase of getting engaged and you start talking about your wedding and what you want, what you both want, it can get overwhelming because you're looking at this list and you're like, but wait, I have to invite so-and-so and I have to invite so-and-so. And the thing I learned is you want the people there who are going to mean the most to you and who are going to support you in your marriage on that day. And we trimmed the list down to like 125. We were kind of settled on right around 125. But we looked at a wedding venue here in Atlanta. We looked online at places in Nashville. My best friend was sending me different options in Nashville. And it was like, the more we kept talking about this big wedding, it didn't feel like us at all. Like, we were like, this is so not you and I. Nick and I are not center of attention people. Hence what we do.
I was going to say.
Behind the scenes in management. Yes. We do not go on stage. We do not play any instruments or anything like that. We just aren't those people. So for us to have 125 to 150 wedding, I don't even know if we would have made it through the whole process if we'd started down that road, if I'm being honest. Because even having a small wedding, it's tough. And so we went to my parents' house one night, and we were kind of talking, and my dad threw out the idea of, what if you guys do it on a smaller scale? What if you have 35 people? What if you do it in Arizona where Nick's family is? Nick's family is all on the West Coast. My family is a lot smaller than his, and my family can travel easier just because of size wise. Logistically, it just kind of, and Nick and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, I kind of like that idea. And we love that deserty vibe. We love Sedona. We love the mountains. We love the cactus. And so we kind of went home, slept on it. I woke up the next morning and I was like, we're getting married in Arizona. Like, I was ready.
It just felt right.
It just felt right. Yes. Like, it just felt like us. And I'm like, we can do this. We both love to travel. So for us to have a destination style wedding made so much sense.
Of course.
It made sense. So trimming down a list from 125 to the original number was 30, which then turned into 35, which turned into 40, and then quickly turned into 50 when you're not careful.
It happens so easy.
It does, because you're like, oh, it's this person, and it's like, and then I went to a wedding for a friend, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't invite her. Do I invite her? Like, you go through this whole cycle of like, what am I missing? But we ended up with a grand total of 40 at our wedding, including Nick and I, and a flower girl. Wow. So it ended up being... Was
it easy to go from the 120 that you had kind of narrowed it down to the 40?
We had a pretty... We knew like the core. We had that core group that we knew that was about 25 already. Okay. So we knew the core group. It was like, we knocked off clients and business people, obviously our boss, because he's both of our bosses. You can't not invite him and his wife. So, which we want them there anyway. They're very dear friends of ours. And so it turned into becoming much easier. So it was like, okay, who in the friend realm means the most to us? We opted for we did have a bridal party. And that's what I think people forget when everybody says, oh, you had such a small wedding. I bet you didn't do any of the traditional stuff. We still did plenty of the traditional
that
stuff.
was one of my questions.
We still both, I had a maid of honor. He had a best man. I still had another bridesmaid. He had another groomsman. They just happened to be our two best friends who are married, were our
That's
best man and maid of
perfect.
honor. And then our bridesmaid and groomsman are his cousins, and they're married, and their flower girl was their daughter, or our flower girl was their daughter. So it was very family, connected.
And it feels like it kind of just fell right into place. As soon as you figured out what it was going to be, you were really like, oh, here it goes. Okay. It felt less overwhelming.
It did. And the more we loved the idea of curating this weekend that was all about family and celebrating our marriage and this life we've created over the last 6 years, and bringing it to life for our people. Yeah. And that's what became so important to us. And that's why we opted on a hotel, because we wanted everybody to be together. And I know that's very unconventional when, most people aren't like, ooh, let's get married at a hotel in a ballroom. But that wasn't what we wanted.
Well, yeah. It wasn't what you wanted. So
it was,
Did you find the venue pretty quickly after you decided?
A little bit. So we looked online. I had a venue I had a venue in my head.
Okay.
And I reached out, and this is where, when you go from a very, very large wedding to a smaller size wedding, these were some of the bumps we learned along the way, is that because the wedding industry is what it is now, and it caters to larger events, I had many people tell me, you have to have a minimum of X amount of people.
Okay.
Or we can only host part of your event there. We can't host
the whole thing. Okay. So I'm
like, okay, well, that defeats my purpose of moving people around. So,
which is so interesting, going into it thinking, oh, this is smaller. It's going to be easier.
It's going to be so easy.
Yeah.
And because I had this dream of this, and I saw this, I live in the rock and roll world with artists and stuff like that, but I also am very fascinated by the influencer world, which is not that influencer world. I love the lifestyle blogger world of like events and stuff like that. And a blogger that I follow got married in a very small setting. She had 10 people at her wedding, but she created a dinner party feel on a patio at a house. And I loved that. I was like, what is better than a dinner party with your people, but it's your wedding?
Yes.
Like, I was like, this is what I want it to feel like. I want everybody to be at the same table. I want everybody to be close. I want everybody to enjoy it. And that's kind of how I ran with it.
It feels much more intimate than a large party. We wanted to be able to see people and talk to everybody and be with them and not feel overwhelmed by the amount of people vying for our attention, which sounds bad because we love all of our friends. And we had several parties leading up to it to see others who just weren't physically there at the wedding. So we still saw everybody. We still got, we were still loved on by so many people. But for us, it became that core group of people for us. Yes.
And that's where we got to. But we looked online. And this was before I had... Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. You finish first. Hold on. I'll ask my
before question. I had even looked at a planner or a wedding court, nothing. I had not even done that yet. We had looked online at so many different resorts and how you do all of this. And we were sitting there one night having another 2.5 hour long conversation with my mom. And she goes, I think you need to fly out and see this. Yeah. She's like, I really think you need to go out to Arizona for a couple days. And thankfully I was at the end of, it was in the fall, it was in October. And my schedule had lightened up and I was like, okay, fine. I got a Delta gift card. I got miles. We'll go.
Yes.
So I flew out to Arizona. I visited 8 resorts in 2 days.
Wow. Yeah. You got right to work.
But mind you, I was very much centrally located. I was very much Scottsdale, like centered, because I wanted to be close to the airport, close to where our family is. Like I wanted it to be easy to get to from the airport. Okay. I didn't want anybody to have trouble or I wanted you to be able to get there in an Uber and not feel like you were driving in a stranger's car for
Yes. Yeah.
2.5 hours somewhere. Because we talked about Sedona, and because Nick and I love Sedona and the magic of Sedona. But you can also find that in Scottsdale if you get creative.
Yeah, you can. You sure can. But Sedona,
You sure can.
There's a lot of tricky logistic things with Sedona and the 17 and stuff. So, yes.
Yes.
So, okay, my question is budget. What, at that point, had you decided what your budget was? And if you had, what was it?
Yes. So we had set our budget at $50,000. And here's where the kicker comes in, is how we so methodically thought about our budget and what was important to us, and what we allocated it for was, so whatever was left over, we had one lump sum. Whatever was left over was going to go into a savings account for us for later.
Okay.
So to start our life together, for a home, or whatever we chose at that moment, it's for a home essentially. So we wanted to be very methodical about it. We didn't, we wanted to still have a beautiful wedding, but also not necessarily spend $50,000 if we could help it.
Okay, perfect.
But it does take a minute, especially if you get engaged and you've never really dove into what these costs are. And I call them hidden fees, but they're, tipping somebody, they're, the labor fee, the setup fee, the takedown fee. Like, you don't think about all of that until you're in that and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought.
Yeah.
And
it's a little different than I was considering. Yeah.
You're like, wait a second. But you start to figure it out. And then you're like, wait, do I really need that? Do I not need that? Could I do this myself? And then you have your full breakdown and go, I'm not doing this.
The courthouse sounds great.
The courthouse sounds great.
Okay.
When's the next plane to Mexico?
Yeah. So that feels like overwhelm. So, and you had a planner. So at what point did you meet your planner and bring them in?
Into the fold?
Yes.
So we had actually picked our venue in Scottsdale. So we got married in Scottsdale. Okay. And because we were a destination wedding, we relied very, very heavily on recommended vendors from our venue. And our planner was a recommended vendor. I went through a couple, and I had a call with them and absolutely loved them. I loved that they were a team of a team of planners. I loved the idea of having somebody as a backup.
Yes.
We love a backup
on a wedding day.
I love a backup. Talk to one. Oh, it's only two of us. And I'm like, okay, so what happens then? Like, if you get sick, what happens if you get the flu? What happens if your kids get, I'm thinking of 55 other things that could go wrong. And they're like, oh, we figured it out. And I'm like, okay. But I love a group of 9.
Yes.
But I found them, and we actually did the coordination package. So we didn't have a full-blown wedding planner. We had the coordination. So what's considered day of coordinator if you're planning a wedding. So they come in basically the last 8 weeks of your wedding and help bring it to life. So you booked all your vendors at that point, and then they come in and help round it out. Thankfully, I chose a planner who wanted to be there every step of the way, even though she was coming in at the end. So she knew as I was booking people, I was sending her the contracts and I was sending her stuff.
So she was kind of holding your hand or maybe babysitting a little bit, just a
little bit.
Not like in a, just like, okay, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. I know what we're doing. This makes sense.
Okay. We're all on the same page.
We're all on the same page. And the thing I loved the most is I knew I had somebody physically there who was in the industry that I could go, am I crazy? Is this right? Is this, have you heard of this person? I don't want to, because I'm not there. Yeah. So it's not like I can go and meet them.
You're not there. You've never been married.
You just don't know.
Yes, you just don't know. Yeah. So did you get a list from even though they weren't full planning, did you still receive a list of these are some people?
Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's the great part. So we had the vendor list from our wedding venue, which was also, our catering came through because we got married at a hotel. it was catering, it ended up being like a package with them.
Okay.
So, we had our catering through the venue, we had our transportation through the venue. So granted, our biggest chunk of our budget was the one venue catering, food and beverage, because it was all in one place.
And
so
what did that end up being?
So when you look at the overall budget with our venue, with 2 venue spaces, because we got married in one location, we had our reception at one location.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did a dual, but we never left the property, which was the cool thing. So they had multiple spaces, and they provided transportation to and from your spots on the property.
Oh, nice.
But that's included. So we spent on that food and beverage, including our wedding cake, was about $20,000.
Okay.
For all of that. And that included the lighting, we did bistro lighting where we were. So
to create that cozy, intimate atmosphere that you were talking about.
Yes. Give me the bistro lights.
Yes,
I was very adamant about. That was the one thing I had to have.
Yeah.
So
you know what?
Yes.
If your one thing you're adamant about is twinkle lights,
Hey, give them to me. Yes. I'll take it.
Okay, but that was less than half of the total budget. So once you had that locked in, you were kind of able to start tackling some other things. Okay.
Starting to tackle some of the other things of what was important to us. And obviously, when you get married at a hotel, you do need a coordinator. You do need somebody there. I will scream it from the rooftops forever.
Me too.
Even if you have a small budget, the day of coordinator,
just do it.
Put it in your budget.
Please.
Put it in your budget, because it will make you feel so comfortable. And, the stress of knowing I had someone in my corner all the time was worth every penny.
Yes.
And we'll get into the other thing, because we got a hiccup that I think, looking at it from a budget perspective, because this could have blown the budget easily. But she saved the day, and it's a whole thing.
Okay. I'm excited.
So
Tell me
that's where we went to. So I utilized our planners, vendor list. I utilized the venue and kind of mushed them together and just started checking things off of what we needed. So for us, our biggest priority was photos.
Okay.
Photos I love photos. I think I get that from my grandmother. She had so many photo albums as a kid growing up. I remember going, she lived with us, with my parents, and I remember looking always through her photo albums, and the photos just mean so much.
They do.
Me. And
I'm biased, but they do.
They do.
They do.
The photos just mean so much to me. Like, I wanted to be able to have, one of my best friends has 2 little girls, and they have wedding photos in their hallway. And I love being able to walk down with their girls now, and they go, "Oh, it's mommy and daddy when they got married." I wanted that.
Yes.
So I wanted to be able to see those. So that was something that was very important to me, and finding the right photographer was really important to me. And, thankful for our planner, because she helped me point, based on what I was looking for.
Okay.
We either wanted to do, and I think this comes into, this will not sound mean, but it's the thing to do now, is to have this big wedding video that, you have to share on socials. And it was like, okay, so when you start pricing all of that out, photo was so much more important to me than video at the end of the day. So we opted doing a photographer. And so we had an 8-hour package for $3,500.
Okay.
Granted, they had never photographed at our venue before. So it was kind of a win-win, because they were getting to shoot for their portfolio of our venue, where, we were getting that. And we used an associate photographer.
Okay, so you went in an associate route. Yeah, and I think that too, a lot of times people will get caught up on a photographer not shooting at a venue, and I love to say, if you see consistent work throughout their website, or if you're able to see a gallery, their Instagram and all of that, like, your photographer, whether they've shot at your venue or not, they'll find their light on the wedding day.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
And I was just saying earlier, I'm like, if I have an in-love couple and like beautiful light, that's all I need. Like, if I have a beautiful background, that's just a bonus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I love that you were able to trust them in that regard.
I was, and I loved, and they had shot so much all over all over Arizona that we felt so comfortable with them. And we did an engagement session with them. We flew out before our wedding in the spring.
Yes.
And got to meet them before and spend a couple hours with them. But it was like, once we got those back, he was like, oh, I'm not worried. They're going to be stunned. Like, they're going to be beautiful. And they even went, like, they took the time and went out to our wedding venue and walked around and saw it and had a plan prior to wedding day. So they knew what they were doing, but they took the time out to make sure that they knew some of the spots prior to our wedding day. Because it was such a large property.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So you got photography locked in.
Yep. So we've got our planner. We've got photography. We opted the music route. We'll touch on that being in the music business.
Yes. High, like tall glass. Yeah.
Yes. Very tall glass to fill. So here's the thing. If we were having a very large wedding, we would have done a live band. There is no question.
Yes.
We love live music. There is no question. But when you only have 40 people, you kind of have to give
the band might be as large as the crowd. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Correct. So we opted for a DJ that was recommended by the venue. And our DJ was wonderful. So we did a 4-hour package with a DJ for $2,000. And we had some strings come and play the ceremony and cocktail hour, which was about $500 for us, which worked. It worked really well. We loved the live aspect of it. I don't remember the wedding music because I think I blacked out when I was walking down the aisle. I know what my song was. I don't recall hearing it. But everybody said that they were great. And so we did weave a little bit of the live music aspect into it. But having a DJ, we curated, being music people, and we apologized in advance when we talked to our DJ. We're like, I am so sorry, but we are those psycho people who will give you a Spotify playlist. Sorry. He's like, just give it to me. I got it. So, but it worked.
It did work.
For us. It worked really well for us, and he was so willing to work with us. And one of the things that we did that was unique was for our parents, we took their first dance wedding songs that they played at their wedding. So my parents have been married for 33 years now. And my Nick's parents have been married for over 40 years. So we took their first dance songs and we played them at our wedding reception. So it was a special moment for our parents to be able to dance to their first songs at our wedding. I
love that.
So we tried to include family within our wedding. I put a piece of my grandmother's veil on my bouquet and my aunt's charm. I walked down the aisle to an Elvis song, which my uncle loved the 50s. So it was a way to honor our family who weren't there, but still keep it very family oriented, which is very much Nick and I. So
I love that. That's so intimate.
Yeah. Yes.
And little special details.
That. Yes. So then we had our DJ, our strings for the ceremony, floral. I love this one. So getting married in Arizona, which it's beautiful. And we picked we said if we were going to get married in Arizona, give me the desert. Whereas some were like, don't give me the desert.
Yes.
I'm like, give me the mountains, give me the cactuses, give me the sand, give me the rocks. I want all of that. And we picked a venue that was very, very, very much in the desert.
Yes.
Very much so. So I did not want to do heavy florals. We felt like we were getting married in such a stunning and beautiful spot. I didn't want to overwhelm it with flowers. And we kept a very, I love simple. I love the classic, elegant wedding.
Clean.
So it was very clean. We asked all of our guests to wear black to the wedding.
Ooh.
Didn't care what length, didn't care.
Yes.
My bridesmaids wore black. Our groomsmen wore black suits. Nick wore a black tux. So I was the only one in white.
I love a dress
my flower
code.
girl, because we got her a white tutu.
Yeah. Oh.
We love a dress code. So we did blacks and whites and greens. So, I kept my florals very, very simple. I did a lot of greenery. I did a lot of roses. it was very, very simple. But I reached out to about 7 florists.
Okay, 7.
And all 7 of them said no.
Oh, okay. Why did they say
it
no?
It was either a couple of them too small.
Okay.
The budget, they wanted at least a $5,000 floral budget, which I wasn't game for. I was like, I don't need that.
So were you looking for what elements did you have? You had bouquets, some centerpieces.
So did you have an arch? No arch, because of where our location, like where our ceremony was. It was in a garden already. Okay. So I didn't want. Yeah.
So what were so you knew which elements you wanted. Okay. And it was.
Yeah, so we did kind of like aisle markers, bouquets, boutonnieres. We did all the traditional stuff because we had a dinner party style wedding. I didn't have separate centerpieces. I had one long table centerpiece basically that was created. Okay. Because we had a dinner party set up. So, obviously that included candles and stuff like that, but I didn't, other than that and some aisle markers, I didn't have much. So when I'm looking at a $5,000 budget, I'm like, I'm never going to hit that. And some of them were like, yeah, it's just too small, or I'm not available, or, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think we're going to be a good fit. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And it was the very last one I reached out to. I had a call with her and I explained to her what our wedding was and what we were trying to do. And I was like, I want to stick to somewhere right around 3,000, 33. And she goes, we can do that. Oh. She's like, I love this idea. Oh. She's like, I would rather curate this for you and create what you want. Because I was throwing in some anemones, which are the white flowers with the black centers.
Yes, those are pretty.
As like my little bit in the table. And she's like, we can do this. She's like, it's okay. So she helped me, create something special for my mom because she didn't want a normal corsage, but she didn't want to feel like a bridesmaid either. So, but I learned, that was my first real experience of aside from the venue, because it was only one venue who was really like, oh, we have to have X amount of people. Whereas I had a vendor telling me, no, you won't meet my budget, or, oh, you have to spend X amount of dollars to even work with me or to even have a call. And I'm like, oh crap. Like, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like I was like, okay, should I just have I'm like, do I just have my sister-in-law put this together for me? Like, cause she loves flowers. But it finally took somebody who was just willing to have a conversation with me and go, and this is what I'm looking at. And granted, she does have a budget, but we were still there. She was like, we can do this. And she goes, I'm happy to do this for you. So it was kind of like, sweet. You learned. And she was, I loved her so much. And, but she's like, this sounds like so much fun. And the best part is she was great because there were things I forgot when we booked it. I was like, oh yes. Oh my gosh. Like I emailed her back and I was like, I need to add flowers for the cake and I need to add flowers on the cocktail tables. I totally spaced. And she goes, it's okay. Like, she goes, you're not throwing that much at me. So, and then she goes, and you just sent me a picture of what you want. I think we can figure this out. But it was one of those first times where I really learned, like, you have to, as a bride, you have to communicate what your vision is because they won't know otherwise. If you don't communicate with them of what's in your head, it's hard.
It is hard.
So,
yeah. I mean, all the weddings are so different. I mean, I feel like I've told the story a lot recently, but florists are just a whole different ball game. What they do is just so very different, and I respect it so much. And I think you do have to find somebody who aligns with your vision and can come alongside you. So.
And come and create it to life. I mean, we said that a couple times. I mean, my bouquet was absolutely stunning. I mean, I had 3 dozen white roses. They were long stemmed with eucalyptus, and I loved it. Like I loved it so much. Was it so heavy? It was like the night of the wedding. It was so heavy.
So heavy, right?
Even my maid of honor was like, how did you carry this around? And I'm like,
this was an arm workout.
I just did. But I loved it so much. I mean, even the night of our wedding, when we got back and we brought my bouquet back, and I was like, I said to Nick, I was like, I have to figure out how to get this preserved. Like, in Arizona. So of course I'm looking for a preserver. I was looking for a preserver.
Yeah.
So
did your planner have any contacts for that? Or
yes, we found one, and funny enough, it was like right down the street from where we stay in Arizona, so it was perfect. But yeah, I think you learn what's really important in keeping your vision to what your vision is, and not having others try to tweak it to fit that. Because it's doable. It really is doable. So
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's coming along together. I mean, it's coming along beautifully. It's coming along together. So great.
Yes. So here's where you kind of get a little into the more creative so those were my big things, like the florals, the DJ, photos. Those were my big things. And we went back and forth on video. The whole time, whole wedding process, we went back and forth on video because I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to have it. And then we were like, well, what if we just get what if we get GoPros and have everybody else film our, we thought of literally every idea. And my very sweet brother actually works in production, and we were talking to him, and he was like, why don't I just bring a camera? I'll set it up. Because the ceremony was what was getting us. Our brother-in-law married us, and it was just that we wanted to be able to show our kids that one day. So my very sweet brother brought a camera and just set it up in the back. So it wasn't a videographer. We don't have multiple angles. It's just our ceremony. And that for me means more than having, the full minute. And I love the wedding videos. I love watching them. I think they are so cool. I love them. But for me, because of my budget and where I wanted to be, it just didn't ever fit.
It just didn't make sense. Sure.
It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like the ceremony is, like you were saying, they blacked out on the way down the aisle. Like, let's actually.
Thank God for pictures.
Wouldn't remember a dang thing.
Wouldn't remember. Truly, I would never remember a thing.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Okay, so those were the big. So once you had those big pieces in place, did you take a little break? Did you feel like
I kind of slowly did things in stages?
Okay.
I probably took it a little, because I would try and do a little bit every couple days, so I wasn't feeling so overwhelmed. I created multiple Amazon wish lists. I did multiple things. But it was my way of mentally checking things off. I'm a list person, and thankfully I have our planner was awesome and gave me a month by month of what I needed to be looking at and what I needed to be thinking of. And granted, there were plenty of things like our rings that we left until way later because we were both so busy. And then our jeweler was like, oh, I need 2 weeks. And there was a chance we were getting fake rings for the wedding.
My goodness. Nobody would have known, but you would have.
Nobody would have known but us. But we were like, oh, crap. So yeah, but we did no rentals.
Okay.
We did no rentals because for us, the minimums were so high. It didn't make any sense.
For 40 people.
So we didn't, for 40 people. So, and really the only rentals we wanted were rugs. Oh. And we found them on Wayfair for $150.
Oh, perfect.
And we ordered a rug, and it was perfect.
Where were the rugs at?
Because we got married in a garden, there was it was like sandy rocks. Okay. So basically that's what we created as our altar. We used a runner.
Oh, okay.
Just truly a runner. And that's what we stood on. Just to kind of give Nick and I some cushion to stand there. But that's it. But we didn't rent a photo booth. We didn't rent anything. The venue came with chairs and the linens and all of that stuff was all included in our venue. So granted, yes, my venue price seems higher, but it's a resort, but so many things were included that I didn't have to go and outsource elsewhere.
And when you're planning from afar, it is a lot.
Yes.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So when it comes to paper, wedding invitations, signs, all of that kind of stuff, I used an online company. I designed my own wedding invitations and the save the dates.
Okay.
Did all of that on my own. I did my own ceremony program.
Slow clap.
I work in marketing.
Okay.
I know. I work in marketing, so I did the dinner menu on my own. I mean, I created all of it, and thank you FedEx for printing everything for the wedding when I got to Arizona.
3 days.
But for me,
you say 3 days?
Well, because we came out a week before the wedding.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of like once, and we got married on a Friday. So we came out like a week before to kind of get everything together. So that's what we did. And it was, but I created it, but that's a great way if you're looking. It is not hard to figure out how to use Canva. Canva is so easy. It's so user friendly, but it's a great budget saver.
Yeah.
It truly is a great budget saver.
I love Canva.
Yes. So we did, when it came to our attire, just mine and Nick's, I opted for a very simple dress. It was plain. It was satin. There was no beading. There was no lace. It was very quintessential wedding dress. I think the most iconic thing is my train. I had a longer train, and a very deep plunging neckline.
I love that.
But because I had no lace, my dress wasn't crazy.
Yes.
We spent, $1,200 on my dress. Granted, I lost a bunch of weight and had to take it in. That's a whole nother story.
Alterations, yeah.
It was like a catch-22.
Yes.
It was either wait to buy the dress and it not be there, or buy the dress and then alter it. So that's what
we would rather have the dress there. Yeah.
Same. So, and then I did have a second dress, and I had a vision in my head for a second. I wanted a party dress. I wanted something with fringe. I don't know why. Brides, you get this thing in your head, and it's
the Nashville. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know. I just had this thing with like fringe in my head, and which is very funny for me because it's not me. And I found a dress on President's Day weekend sale through Anthropologie Bridal. Brides, if you've never looked at Anthropologie, go to Anthropologie Bridal. I promise that is my best tip of the day.
Oh.
They run sales all the time. If you're looking for a dress, take a look over there.
Okay.
Because I found my reception dress that was regularly like a $700 cocktail dress that was fringe. It was like regularly $700. It was marked down. I think I paid like $110 for it.
What? No way.
Didn't know if it would fit. Just ordered it on a whim, and I was like, So, but shop the sales. I'm telling you, brides, like especially sale weekends, shop the sales.
Shop the sales.
It will save you money.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and in the grand scheme of things, I think between his tux and my dresses, I mean, I think we spent $2,500 roughly. Yeah. Roughly about, yeah. So with alterations on both of us, like we didn't go crazy. I mean, we still got what we wanted and everything. One dessert thing we did add, we'll go back to our reception really quick. So my husband is Italian.
Okay.
And I marrying into an Italian family, so I was like, what? I wanted something interactive because the photo booth didn't make any sense for us because we had such a small wedding. And I'm like, what can I have that's interactive? We talked about doing a mirror, selfie mirror wall, all of that kind of stuff. And I found a vendor online I found a vendor through our planner that does hand-piped cannolis. And I thought, what better than an Italian wedding than to surprise all of our guests with some little mini hand-piped cannolis after the cake was cut, which was great. And I love my vendor who did that for us.
How did it work? Awesome. Did he go around himself? Did he have like a cart set up? How does it?
Nope. He goes around himself with a cooler.
Oh.
And he carries it in a cooler, and it's very cool. I love it. I think it's the coolest thing. I showed it to Nick, and he was like, "This is cool. You have to book him." And when I reached out to him, the only date he had in October was the 25th available. And I didn't even ask any other questions. I said, send me the contract. I'll sign it right now. Yes. Like, wow. I knew what it was, but I was like, we have to have this. Like, I can't. And my mom was like, you're out of your ever-loving mind. Like, why are we doing this? I think it's going to be fine. Mind you, it was probably the biggest hit of the wedding because no one knew.
Yes.
We didn't tell anybody. It was one of our surprises.
Surprise, yeah.
So biggest hit. And he danced on the dance floor, so it was all great.
So it was that the guest experience that you have listed?
That, and then the groom took some of the guys golfing. So some of our family members went golfing.
Okay.
Which Scottsdale is very famous for. Yes. So that was kind of, we put that into our budget, so it was like the groomsmen, our dads, that kind of thing. They all, and my brothers, and they kind of did like a little guys golf outing.
Oh, I love that.
Together.
Was that the day of or before?
And then that was the day of, rehearsal day.
Okay.
The day before, all the guys went golfing, and the girls kind of like putzed around the house and just kind of spent some quality time together. And then we had a welcome party that night. We did do a rehearsal because, when you have a family member marry you, we were very nervous just to make sure everybody knew what we were doing. So we just did a quick rehearsal, and then we all went and had a Mexican dinner. Just our families. Okay. So just our families. It was literally the 12 of us.
Oh.
And that was really important to Nick and I. It wasn't like, even though we had an out-of-state wedding, it was like we didn't want everybody we wanted to have dinner with just our parents and our siblings and my grandmother the night before our wedding. We wanted to have a true family dinner, and that was something that was important to us. So we all went and had Mexican.
I love that. You gotta have Mexican
the night before
when you're in Scottsdale.
Yes, gotta have Mexican. Have to.
You have to.
Which was perfect. And then we did have a welcome party. So anybody who was coming to the wedding, so all 40 people were invited to the welcome party. But it was a great kickoff to be able to see everybody before the wedding day. And we did that the night before.
Okay, that was my next question.
So. Yes. Yep, we did it the night before. My parents rented a home at the resort we were staying at, so it was already there. It was at the house that they rented. So it was perfect. It was a cocktail party with some just light appetizers, and it was perfect.
I love that. It's like the most beautiful, intimate weekend.
It was, we curated our weekend so well that, the guys golfed, the girls got quality time together. We still did the rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner, and we had a welcome party, so we got to see everybody who was already in town, who was free and wanted to come over and see us. And we hung out, and I kicked everybody out at 9:30, and I said, I gotta go to bed. Good night.
It's like that banner that I've seen in
I was like,
please leave by 9.
I gotta go to bed. Please leave by 9.
We got something happening tomorrow.
So, yes. So we did the welcome party the night before. But speaking of our night before, I think one thing we forgot to talk about was hair and makeup for the bride.
Tell me about that. I would love to know. What's your experience? Okay.
That one was my most interesting one.
Okay.
So I had booked a vendor in March through, I had found her through our planner's Instagram. It was kind of like this really weird connection. Very nice girl. Talked to her. She was willing to do it because I had such a small bridal party. It's hard, especially with the travel fees. And I was like, I can't make the girls go anywhere. We're at a resort. I have a place.
Yes.
And she was willing to do it because it was just myself and my 2 bridesmaids who got their hair and makeup done. So it's only 3 of us. My mom just wanted some eyelashes, which takes like 5 minutes. So, and I kind of wanted to keep my budget right around 1,000, if not under 1,000. And she came in under 1,000. She was, she's like, great, no problem. $850, perfect. If you want to do a trial, let me know. When I was in Arizona for my bridal shower, I went and did a trial with her. So I met her ahead of time.
How did you feel about that? Did you?
Loved my trial. Okay. I thought she did a great job. She got what I was going for. And then the day before the wedding, we had a timeline. She tried to change the timeline on me a little bit. And that is where this is where you hire a planner. Yes. Because when a vendor's calling you the day before with problems, I called her. Yeah. Because I was like,
this is not an Ashley problem.
This is no, well, and of course in my head it is, but my maid of honor is like, how on earth are you so calm? And I was like, because I just have to talk to my planner. Yes. Once I talk to her, she's going to tell me what the plan is from here. Yes. Because I was more scared of, you hire these vendors so far out. Yes. You hire these vendors so far out, and it's the most important day. And here you are trying to keep all of it together, thinking of everything, like, what on earth did I forget?
Mm-hmm, sure.
Did I get these bins together? You know, I tried to be so incredibly organized for my planner. So her, you know, her team wasn't like going nuts. Like I had bins for every table and the reception.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I tried really hard to be very thoughtful for everybody. So it wasn't so overwhelming. Mind you, I put a lot of stress on myself and my husband, but we got it all, you know, we got everything done. And, I get this and I call her and I'm getting ready for my rehearsal and she's like, I'm going to see you in a minute. What's wrong? And I tell her what's going on. And she's like, okay, this is no longer your problem.
Yeah.
She goes, would you have somebody come if you've never met them? And I said, as long as they're going to show up at this point, I'm game.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me they're good, I will trust you.
Okay.
And she was like, price. And I go, at this point, I just need somebody to come and do hair and makeup tomorrow.
Yes.
Like I just need somebody to
So was the hair and makeup person saying they couldn't come at all, or they were just trying to push it back?
They were pushing it up so early, and we didn't do a first look. We didn't do, you know, our wedding was in the afternoon. Yeah. So when you have such a small group of people, it's like we don't want to be sitting there completely glammed.
Yes. 6
hours before the event. Yes. Like the timing just wasn't working.
Okay, I understand.
So I then was getting ready and I was calm, and, you know, my then fiance was like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. Well, she's going to figure it out. Yeah. I was like, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm going to keep steaming clothes. Like, I'm not even going to think about it.
Not hear her?
And sure enough, I was like, and within 5 minutes, she called me back and says, I've got somebody, they'll be there tomorrow.
Oh my, I got chills.
And I said, and then I go to her, I go, all three of us? And she goes, all three of us and your mom. And she's like, if the Flower Girls want lip gloss, we'll do lip gloss. She's like, they'll be there.
Oh my
She's like,
goodness.
They'll be there. And then she's like, send me all your trial photos. I'll handle everything from here. So I did that. And she's like, I'll see you I was going to see her in like an hour.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So
wow.
I switched my hair and makeup vendor the night before my wedding.
Wow.
At the welcome party, I was literally like, she was texting me going, can you send a deposit? And I said, yeah, just whatever, just tell me the amount and I'll
send it over.
Like I was just like, I just need to know they're going to show up. And she's like, she's going to show up. I was like, she's like, do not panic. She will be there. And lo and behold, they got confused in the resort because of where my parents' home was that they rented. Okay. They got a little turned around on the backside and they were like 10 minutes late. And she walks in, she's like, I'm so incredibly sorry. She's like, Alicia was worried about time. And I was like, you could have been 35 minutes late as long as you showed up.
And did my hair.
I was going to be just fine. I was like, I don't care at all. Like,
I love that.
But it was great. But at the end of the day, with all of that going on, here I am going, I don't want to spend more than, $1,000. And, you just start to think about money, you start to think about your budget. Yeah. And my mom's like, it's fine. She's like, you're not, my mom, of course, is like, don't worry about it. We'll just get it,
yeah.
Let's just get somebody here. Lo and behold, in all of that switch, it was $950. I paid $100 more. In the grand scheme of things, I lost a little money on a deposit on the other girl, and it turned out better than I could have dreamed it would, not knowing them. And it was perfect. And they were so incredibly sweet. And of course, we're being the nicest people. And my mom's trying to feed them. Because that's what we do. I'm like, can I get you water? Can I get you coffee? Like, what can I get you? We have snacks. So I've got everything. And, it was just like, we're just so thankful you're here. Because my maid of honor is like, you literally saved the day.
Yes.
You guys we would not have had, we don't think we would have had somebody. Yes. I was so afraid to be like, okay, don't come. Like, I was so afraid to be like, no, you have to come at this time.
Yeah.
And then I lose it altogether, and then I'm really screwed.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was my one felt real big hiccup. But at the end of the day, it worked out. And
I love how she just came in and was like, not your problem.
I know. And then when I was talking to my mom and I told her, I was like, yep, we've got somebody else. And she goes, the planner did that? And I go, yeah. And she goes, that was worth every single penny of the planner. just for that. Mind you, my dad also told her, my dad loved the schedule. You know, everybody loved the schedule she sent out, and that they knew they had a person there. And it, you know, that's why I say, even if you have a small budget, put it in your budget to get a planner. Yes. Invest in a planner, because then you're not putting it on your parents to do stuff. You're not putting it on your future in-laws.
Absolutely. Everybody that you love also gets to enjoy the day. Absolutely. 100%.
Exactly. And that's where it becomes important. And even if it's just the day of coordination, it's still okay. Like you will still have somebody there for you, and that's worth the peace of mind.
Yes, 100%.
And I love it.
100%. Yeah, and their connections like that, you know, like.
Yeah, I would have never known that without her.
Yeah.
I would have never been able to do that quickly without her.
Yeah.
Ever.
Wow.
So. Yeah.
That is chef's kiss for the planner coming in.
I know, right?
The way she handled
like,
that,
oh my gosh,
is incredible.
Even my two bridesmaids who have been married for a couple of years now, they're like, where was she when I got
there?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know, but she's stuck with me now. I'm like, I'm just going to steal her forever.
Yes.
So,
I love that.
But yeah, no. And we were like, and she told us she was going to, head out at some point. And we were talking to her and she goes, no, I'm going to stay. I'm like, okay.
Gotta grab a snow.
So, yeah, she's like, I'm not going anywhere. So, yeah, but overall, I mean, when you total everything up and you look at it from the grand scheme of things, we came in at right about $45,000 of our $50,000 budget. So, and it was a beautiful.
Wow! Congratulations!
It truly was perfect.
Was there also
we walked?
Sorry, keep going.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, there was the wedding day that went almost as perfect as it could have gone, and so there was that piece of it. But then was it also and we came out under budget?
Yeah, and we came out under budget. It's just cherry on top. I mean, there are ways to do it, and we had people who were at our wedding just said, they loved how intimate it was. They loved how personalized it was. They loved how we made it so special for each person and for them to be there. And, it was dreamy. I mean, it was, we walked into our reception and we both kind of looked at each other right before our first dance. And he's like, did you imagine it looking like this? And I was like, I think it's better than we ever designed it in our heads. And it was truly the perfect day, and we just loved it, and it was great.
How was it?
You can do it. And even after my mom said, I was like, Mom, you look at all the stuff online and on the weddings, and you can create an absolutely beautiful wedding truly for any budget. Yes. You really can do it. It's not unobtainable.
No, I agree with that. And every wedding is so unique. And there's a way to make it beautiful just for you and how you want to celebrate.
There's truly a way.
I love that so much. So then on the day of and afterwards, okay, well, was it worth it?
It was absolutely worth it. 100%. I was looking forward the most to our marriage. That's what I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to officially being his wife and being married. That's what I was looking forward to. But we knew, having a wedding was important for other people around us too. Sure. Like my dad getting to walk me down the aisle was important. Even though we had 40 people, I still wore a white dress. Nick still wore a tux. My dad still walked me down the aisle. We still had a first dance. Yes. We did a father-daughter dance and a mother-son dance. We still cut the cake. We still hung out with our friends. We still had a wedding.
You absolutely had a wedding.
On a smaller scale, but it was so worth it. And I'm so glad we did it, because there are the moments, looking back now at our photos, I couldn't imagine not doing it.
I love
even all the stress and everything that leads up to it. I just couldn't imagine not having that day with those people celebrating our marriage. I just couldn't. it's you can't
Yeah.
you can't recreate that feeling.
No, you can't.
But yeah, it was very worth it. I do say that. And I will be a totally honest bride. There were several times where I said, it wasn't the marriage. And it's not even the marriage part, because that was so important to me. Yes. That this was like the wedding portion of it was like, I was like, this is not worth the stress of looking forward. Like, it was just like, I just want to get to there.
Absolutely.
And there were a couple times where it's like, it's the stress of it all. And it's the emotion, no one tells you how tired you are after all of that either.
Yeah.
So, it's right. So you don't be stressed when you're exhausted afterwards. Cause I think I still slept for 2 weeks. I still think I'm tired. 8 weeks later, I still think I'm tired.
10 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But I love that. Yeah. I love hearing that. I mean, I know that, again, I'm a very small piece of a much larger puzzle, and the journey that you go on to get to this special, weekend or day is so much. It's a lot of work, whether you have a planner or, it still takes a huge toll. Yeah. And so I love hearing that it was worth it, because you're not going to have this time to celebrate like this again. Just for the two of you to feel so loved and celebrated.
Yes, you do. And, something I learned through this whole process, and Nick and I were actually talking about this recently, and it's advice I gave to somebody who else just recently got engaged.
Okay, this was the last question I want to ask. What piece of advice?
Oh, okay, great. Give? So this is my piece of advice, and I think the biggest thing I've learned, because obviously being a girl, you have this vision of what a wedding is supposed to look like, and all of these things, and Instagram and TikTok do not help now. Pinterest does not help now with the situation. But the biggest thing I learned through this whole thing was there are no rules. There are no rules to this.
There are no rules.
You have to do this. If you decide to have a wedding and be with these, celebrate your marriage and celebrate your life that you're creating with someone, there are no rules. If you don't want to do a first dance, don't do a first dance. If you don't want to wear white, don't wear white. If you don't want to have 200 people, don't have 200 people. If you want to have a 2-year engagement, have a 2-year engagement. There are no rules to this scheme anymore. And that was something I learned, because you feel like you have to do these things because it's what's always been done. And the reality is you don't.
Nope.
And you don't. And that's the best piece of advice I can give you, is make it your own. Make it who you are, because that's what you're going to fall in love with at the end of the day.
I love that so much. It's so true. You get to make it your own. And I feel like when you see all of these things all over social media, and then you have traditions, either
the pressure. Yes. And it's this pressure to have something, and it's, at the end of the day, it's yours. Yes. And I'm so glad we did exactly what we did. I couldn't imagine having a large party. I love it. I love that it was a destination. I love that we can go back there, and, hopefully one day we go back there with our kids and get to be there. And, that's, for us, that's all that matters. And, we have the memories, and it was perfect for us. And that, at the end of the day, means everything.
It means everything. So, and it's all that matters, how you get to celebrate going into your marriage. And yes, I love that so much. I'm so happy for you guys.
Oh, thanks so much.
Yeah.
We're very much enjoying our first holiday season. We rolled right into that, from wedding to holidays. Wow.
You really did. Bang, bang. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Welcome. And thank you for sharing everything. I hope that it is.
Of course.
Yeah. A fun time for everybody involved. So,
yes.
Thank you so much.
So
and we will stay in touch.
Yes. I can't wait. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you were recently married, or if you know somebody who was recently married, who might be super fun to chat with about their wedding planning journey and how they decided to allocate their funds and how everything came together, you can find us on Instagram at Wed and Worth It. There's a form within that bio you can fill out, or just feel free to send us a DM. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.